Another day and another project. I am going to be changing the suspension out on my truck here. It's a 2018 Ram 2500 with a Cummins in it. Right now, you can't really see that good in there, but it has the, I'll grab a light. It just has some pucks, 3-inch level kit. Nothing great, with some Bilstein shocks, and it just doesn't ride nice. And then on the rear, it's factory air ride truck, so it just doesn't have coils in the back. It has airbags, and the shocks with it are Bilsteins as well. It's just, lack of a better term, a bunch of random parts thrown on. Gives it maybe the desired look, but the ride suffers, and you have an expensive truck that you've just made and not as nice. So I made some purchases. I did a lot of reading up. I went with Carli, and we recommend installation be performed by a trained professional. Well, I'm trained, I don't know if I'm a professional. I got the 3.25 Carli linear pin-top springs for the front. For the rear, there's a company called Trexta, I don't even know what to say. It was off CJC's off-road website, is the 1-inch riser blocks for the airbags, so I can get that pressure reduced. And then, because whenever you raise the front end of a truck, these are Carli's radius arm drop bracket, and with that, you want to change get the geometry correct. You're going to be looking at installing, or I'm going to be looking at and installing Carli's radius arm drop brackets. What that will do is correct the caster, because the caster is way out, because I've essentially just dropped the front end. Now the other thing I've purchased, and what I should have done, and it's kind of a big faux pas that I did not do this originally when I put these leveling pucks in, is a track bar, because what happens is it leans, it pushes the axle to the one side. So I have a Carli track bar to go with it. And then lastly, with all these, yes, I have the Bilstein shocks, but I wanted the Carli tuned shocks. So I went with the Fox shocks for this. They're not the reservoir shocks. I don't do off-roading. I just wanted good ride quality. And with the Carli shocks, with the Carli suspension, I have the factory air ride tuned shock for this truck. And that was a big thing for me, because I want it, I'm spending the money, I want it to ride nice. You can hear my beeper going off because I got the ignition on for the rock lights. They do help with this suspension work, I'm not gonna lie. So right now, where I'm at is we got one of the drop brackets on. I want to go through a couple things with the hardware and mounting this. So this is going to go over top of your existing radius arm mount. This will bolt in where this radius arm would have bolted in before. There's 2 bolts, one on either side. You have to drill this hole out. And then this guy here, there's a spacer. It's with a little tang. And then you mount, I keep the bolts for the cross member facing forward. And then you can just slide that on there. You can see that bolt like bottoms out right on the cross member, which I found kind of interesting. And then there's this bolt here, and it's supposed to be like 280 foot-pounds, but like look at that nut, it is thin. But hey, if the Carli's guys engineered it, I'm not going to argue, because I'm sure they put this stuff through strenuous abuse, and then you can kind of see it there as well. And everything's now torqued on this side. Besides that guy, it's vulcanized bushing. You don't torque that till it's on the ground. I put the bolts in loose up here. You hear beeping, it's just my truck going off because I have the ignition on. The rock lights do help quite substantially. Seeing stuff. So the Carli springs are gonna get changed in here, swapped in here, the track bar. But first I'm gonna go and do the radius drop bracket on the passenger side. One thing I have in the way here is my truck has the air tank there, so that's in the way, and hopefully my coolant lines for my Webasto don't get too far in the way either. So I'm gonna drop that out of the way, and I'm gonna get right to it. We got the front springs in, new Carli springs, new Fox shocks 2.0, the Performance Series, they're all tuned. Got the radius drop brackets on, new track bars in, you can see there. Now, I don't know what Dodge calls it, I would call this a drag link, but you can see there was a recall on these. where they welded them. And as you can see, this one, that doesn't look like a factory weld. If you look at that, that looks like a mechanic can weld. So I'm going to split those welds. I'm going to get that adjusted. We're going to get alignment all shimmied up on this guy. And but yeah, huge difference on the front. For the steering stabilizer with the torque, or sorry, with the track on, they get you to take that hardware off there, and then you put into the Carli one. One other thing I will also show is with the passenger side, if you have an air ride truck, the air tank comes pretty close. And what I did was I made, if you can see it, I made a nylon bushing that kind of pushes that air tank out. It's maybe not the most glorious. It's a nylon bushing, and then there's a fender washer there, and that just kind of spaces it out so it's not right up against that. Like, it's pretty much on it, but it's not too bad. And then you can see the drop brackets and everything there. So yeah, it's going together good. Now on the back side, we're going to put in these new risers, 1-inch risers from, I believe it's called Traxta. This is the hardware. It's nicely powder coated in this nice textured black. You know, good grade 8 hardware, which is good. Comes with these brackets, but now I have Theron leveling rods for that extra 1-inch lift. I'm not changing anything. I want to get the bag up for that extra 1 inch so I take the pressure down. I don't think I'm going to be adding, I don't see the point of this. Now if I want to go another inch, then yeah, but really I'm going right back to square one if I put another inch in this, because instead of being 1 inch above stock, will be 2 inches, but I only have a 1-inch riser. My pressures are going to be up. So I'm going to pull out these Bilstein shocks. These are maybe a year old, if that, and I'm going to get these Fox shocks put in, and this thing should ride nice. Now those risers are going to fit in right in between the bag and the platform on the base, and yeah, so I'm going to try to get all this sorted out, installed, and see how it rides. All right, there's the spacer, and as you can see, there's no place to put a bolt in there. So what they recommend is one of these 3/8 bolts, which is supposed to go up in here. As you can see, there is not enough space to put any hardware on. Whoever engineered this did a very poor job. I think there's another manufacturer that would do better. I don't know, maybe a longer stud and the airbag would make these work, but for now I'm not wasting any more of my time on them. So where I'm at now, you pull this bracket off when I do that in the sway bar. Yeah, these spacers are just horrible. Like the stud, you have to cut the stud, I guess, I'm guessing, otherwise it'd bottom out there. But yeah, like the hardware, it's 3/8 hardware when it's M8 hardware here, and it's just a mismatch of garbage. As far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't ever recommend anybody putting this on their vehicle. I'm less than thrilled with it. So, all right, so I was shown in that video where I had this installed, and the biggest issue is, if you look, you can see straight through here and here. I have a M8 and the 3/8 bolt that they give you. So essentially, this would go in like this, and then you have to fit the nuts and hardware on, and there's just not enough. Like, to me, the stud would go all the way down, so you got to trim it. That's not a big deal. But then this has to go all the way up, and then they're like over top of each other. So my plan is I'll get an M8 bolt, cut it, and make a stud, and I'll weld a stud into the bottom here. So I'm gonna have to clean off the power coating, and then I'll weld in a stud. We got her done, and I've been driving around for a couple weeks. Drives fantastic. The only thing I didn't get, it was those rear brackets. installed yet, the pedestals. I got a plan for that though. Alignment is done on the truck. We got it into 4.5 degrees positive caster. Carli spec on that, I think it's 3.5 to, or 3.8, sorry, to 4.5 degrees positive caster. But it rides awesome. I'm gonna wrap up the Carli suspension video with this. Thanks for following along. Please hit that like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. These videos are all for just kind of explaining what I find along the way, why I chose these parts. I know I've used some of these videos from other people, trying to get some of the same information. So hopefully find something useful or resourceful here. Thank you. See you on the flip side.